Hi, everybody. Sorry, it's always really distracting. Whenever I go live, it puts a big banner across the screen that says, "You are live," and then I can't see anything. I'm like, oh, what's going on? I hope you're all well tonight. It's nice to see you guys and say hi. A big shout out to the replay crew again. And it's really important for you to have your say. So leave a comment if you're watching on the replay and I will respond to your comment. Also, if you leave it long enough, I think it's 24 hours, then the live chat gets replayed, is available on the replay as well. And then you just swipe left and then select live chat and it will scroll it as it happens. So that would be grand. It's really great that everybody has joined me tonight. Thank you very much. And it's really important to have your say. So shout out in the comments anything you're thinking of, any questions you have. If you have questions, either start them with capital QQQ or put them all in capital letters, because then I'm able to spot them more easily. So a big hi and thank you to everybody here and participating. It's great to see you. And a big shout out and a big thank you to Jay Dixon, Ecology Today, who is being our moderator for today. Now, usually I go over and say hello, but what I want to do today is go on to a few things for you to think about to chit chat in the show. Because I had a really good look around my garden today. It's that time of year where all the harvest is coming in, and I've got more peas than I know what to do with, more spinach than I know what to do with, and so much chard I don't know what to do. I don't know why I planted so much. I've obviously overplanted it, but it made me think, what's going well in your garden? What has surprised you? What is producing really, really well in your garden right now that you wasn't expecting? I clearly wasn't. I planted lots of chard thinking it would take a while, but it's taken off. I've got so much peppermint chard. I can't believe it. And then also, what's been disappointing this season so far. So it's great because it's nice to boast and share and have a look at your wonderful harvest. But for me, parsnips have been a disaster. I've got two whole parsnips. So, and the other thing to think about is who is starting to preserve produce now? What are you preserving, and how are you preserving it? So things to chat about. I'm going to go over to comments and see who's in and say hi to everybody. Start at the beginning. And again, it's Jay. Oh, there we go. That's a better one. Good day to all from Huron County, Midwestern Ontario, Canada, in the lee of Lake Huron. So hi, Jay. And again, thank you so much for everything you do, not just on this show, but within the whole gardening community. Really involved with your literal community where you live, helping people garden and managing gardens there, and a great asset to your actual community, but also the online community with supporting all these channels and moderating for us. It's a really generous and kind thing that you do. And then Mo has come in, said hi gang, and I think if I scroll down, I've also seen, yes, Kirsty's in, saying hi to people. Hi, Kirsty. Thank you for being here. And I think that's everyone said hi. There are more on the count, but they haven't commented. So if you're in and you haven't commented, say hi. And let us know what's growing in your garden and what's not growing in your garden. And are you at this present time? I say that. Shawnee. Hi, Shawnee. Nice to see you there. So what's growing really well in your garden and what's not growing so well? And also if you're doing any preserving yet. I'm doing a lot of preserving. I might get onto some of that later on. Rhubarb donated 2 big lots to the local non-profit seniors dinners. Yes. My rhubarb has started growing. I've got a dehydrator that's full of it at the moment. Okay, let me have a look at my banners. So today's topic, I'm in the wrong folder, are perennial grains. That's what I decided. that I would talk about. Now, the reason I'm talking about this week, it's a bit unexpected. My garden has been a lot this year. It got really behind with all the projects. We had such bad weather, and it wasn't just I didn't want to get wet in the rain. Oh, I didn't like the rain. I don't mind working in the rain, but our rain was coming sideways, and we had high winds, and we had torrential rain and knee-deep mud, and it really wasn't possible to get a lot done. So I got so far behind. There were things that I was meant to do, like build cold frames and infrastructure and get on top of tidying things over the winter, and that didn't happen. And I've really taken stock, and I've scaled back the area I'm trying to farm this year so that I can do part of it well and expand later. And in researching easier ways to farm and whatever, I came across a really interesting program about perennial grains. And I thought, oh, this is interesting. And I jotted down some notes while I was there. And then I thought, well, I've been captivated and interested in it. So let's share it with everybody else. The benefits: prevent soil erosion because it's perennial. The roots are in the ground all the time, all the year round. The roots on perennial grains tend to be a lot deeper, and there are lots of pictures. You can look on Google, the internet, just Google perennial grains. And sorry, I'm going to alter my camera a bit there because the light bulb is dazzling in the screen kind of here. That might be a bit better to watch. So there are lots of people, and they're holding the grass, and the roots are as tall as they are. So you've got really great soil web. You've got all those roots down into soil, and that soil web can really expand down into the deeper, what we think of as subsoils. And of course, that then in turn improves the soil fertility. So those roots have gone down there for nutrients and for water, and they're bringing them up through their root system. So and this was the thing that really drew me to it. Less effort and less cost. Because they're perennial, you buy the seeds once, and because they're perennial, you sow them once. And the idea is they are perennial, which doesn't mean they last indefinitely forever, but by the time that those plants are spent in a few years, them being grains, they will have spilt some grain, and they will regenerate and grow from there. So from watching this really interesting program and taking some notes, and I can't remember which one it was. It's one of those, I've gone back to try and find it, and I can't find it. If I do, I will add a link to the show notes afterwards. This link is in the description. And this is where I did quite a lot of my research about perennial grains. And it's a Plants for a Future website. I've spoken about it before, PFAF. There are thousands, and you can search by type of plant. You can by growing zone, perennial, annual, medicinal, edible, herbal. And you can, there are so many search parameters. If you're thinking of something, you can go and search by parameters. Even as I said last time, I searched specifically for plants for tea. So of the plants I looked at, perennial buckwheat was one of them. Phagopyrum cymosum, I think that is the Latin name. So you can use it in gluten-free recipes, pancakes, cakes and biscuits, pizza bases, homemade pasta, and traditional Japanese soba noodles. I have no idea how you make noodles. I'd have to research that a bit more. So it sounds like it's really useful. But it has other medical uses as well. So this was all information I found on the PFAF website. So a decoction of the roots is used for treatment of insect bites, dysmenorrhea, inflammation, lumbago. Now, I'm hoping that if you have a snake bite, you go to hospital, and traumatic injuries, I hope you go to hospital. But this is a worldwide website. So there are some countries where hospitals are not nearby. But there are different things that you can use it for. For me, it's got an even more purposes because it can be used as fodder. So it can be dried as hay, or it can be kept as silage, or it can be directly grazed. I will say, excuse me, if you directly graze something like a grain or a grass, you're not likely to get seed heads or as many seed heads or as big as seed heads, because obviously the nutrients and the solar panels that have the energy that then grow the grain are less or non-existent. The other thing is when it's young, the leaves are edible and they have a lemony hint when they're very young. And there are references about them being used in salads as well as for greens. The seeds can be used the same as a regular buckwheat. So I'm imagining it's got a nice nutty flavour as buckwheat does. Now I'm going to pop back to the comments because that's all the information I've got on the buckwheat. Let's say, oh, more people in. Let's say hi. Scroll back. So at the beginning, I asked 3 questions, which is what's doing really well in your garden? Are there any disappointments? And is anybody getting such a big harvest of things that they're having to do preserving already? Beans not doing well for us, both bad germination or getting eaten before they're established. So with my beans, they are going now, although Kevin turned them up. I've had a second planting, but I've used Robin Garden's trick. I've used the milk cans, cut the bottoms off, put some landscape fabric staples in the sides, and then so I've planted my beans direct sown, put the milk carton over the top, pushed the pegs into the ground, because my problem is the pheasants dig them up. Once they're grown, there's plenty. They'd rather eat lettuce than beans plants, so that's fine. There's lots of other things for them to grow, but they've not done particularly well. So they germinated about 2 or 3 weeks ago, but they're only this high, and today they've just started to wind around the posts, and I was expecting them to be 2 or 3 feet high by now. So yeah. Shirley says she's listening from the garden. It's actually raining. That's brilliant. I know you wanted some rain. Hi Eddie, nice to see you in. Nice to see you in. Did not plant any garlic. A few volunteers snuck in. It's always nice when you get volunteer plants. See, smiling about the rain. Yes, definitely. We've had, I think we've had quite a good mix here. We've had about 3, 4, 5 hot sunny days where we've gone, oh, I'm going to have to water if it doesn't rain soon. And then it's rained for 2 or 3 days, and you kind of got to the point where it's like, I wish it stopped raining because grass is growing. I've got to cut it. And then it rains. So for me, I've been quite happy. Hi, Sean. Nice to see you in. Watching from just a few miles away from where I am. The other coast of Cornwall. I'm on the north coast. Sean's nearer the south coast. Yeah. Do you know what, Kirsty? I was thinking about you when I read this. I thought, especially when some of the grasses have medicinal uses. Yeah. And there's talk about dahlias. Buckwheat is quick and neat to grow. Yeah, I grow a lot of buckwheat as cover crop. I'm really interested in the perennial one, because not having to re-sow would be wonderful. Hi Rob. Nice to see you. I didn't think you were going to join us. I knew you'd be in the pub. Is Pete with you in the pub, or has he abandoned you? I don't know. Be interested to know some of these, or at least one of them, they can be used to make beer. But next one, we're going to talk about. So I did the ones that sounded most useful first of all, and then got down to some alternatives. So Eastern gamma grass, Tripsacum dactyloids. Oh, and then I didn't leave a space there. So it's a tough yellow grain that can be used as a flour. Left milled, the grains will pop like strawberry popcorn. I'm assuming that's a little bit like regular popcorn, where you put it in the hot pan with the fats, and then it will pop. I've done that with, I think, quinoa. I've popped Certainly, I certainly pop lots of different things. So it sounds nice. Alternative to popcorn. It's native, I believe, in the USA. So it grows rampantly over there. It kept saying about how it could get to 8 feet tall and things like that. It can be used as a fodder crop. Now, this I thought was brilliant because we've had such changeable weather and you don't know whether you're going to have a flood or a drought. So the fact that it's both drought and flood tolerant for long periods. And the reason for that, it's got a really rhizomous root and they're fat and they're chunky and they hold lots of nutrients. So, and they like to grow in wet conditions. So the flooding's fine, but also because they've got this fleshy, fatty, tuberous root, they can support themselves in drought for a long time. Of all the grains I looked at, this one had the highest protein content. Now, I don't know. I need to research some other sites because that sounded a bit high for me. 27% protein sounded very high. But I don't know if that's because the grains are quite small compared to some of the others. So I took that with a pinch of salt, but I thought it was such a big number. I ought to put it on there. And again, it seems like the grain is pretty much used the same way wheat is. So you would grind it and then make a flour from it. And the next one is called Kernza. Thienopyrum intermedium works deliciously as an ingredient in bread, cereal, snacks, and you can make beer out of it, Rob. Anybody who is interested in making beer. And it sounds nice because it's got a nutty flavour. Now, this is another one that grows all over the States, and it's starting to become popular and more mainstream as something that people can harvest. So it's got a nutty flavour. And see, this one's considered high protein at 18%, which is why I'm not certain about the 27%. That seems a bit high. Carotenoids, and don't ask me what, or maybe carotenoids, and other antioxidants compared to annual wheat, and is high in dietary fiber. So it's got loads of good properties about it. Now, this one, of all the pictures of all the root structures, this one seemed to have the deepest root system. There were some that I saw that, there were people stood on ladders holding these things up and the roots trailing down. They looked like they were easy between 8 and 10 feet deep, these roots. So if you think about all the nutrients and the moisture that can access from all the way down there and bring up to the top, how useful that must be to your garden and adding nutrients and biomass and all those roots through. If you think that the water, the rain can percolate down through all those channels those roots make, how deep your water penetration is going to be on your land, that can only be a benefit. And again, it seems like it is used pretty much like most flowers. I'm going to have a quick pop back to the comments. Oh, you're the only person you're on your own in the pub. Oh no. Apart from the staff. That's right. It's no excuse for them to take time. Kernza, Land Institute org. So there's a link there that Jay has shared if people want to have another look. There is in the description a link to a study. It was done in America, and it's a really good paper. I didn't read it fully. I scanned it and I read some of it, but I will go back and read it. So I shared that link as well. Yes, Kirsty, all of these that I'm talking about will grow in the UK, throughout Europe and America. Some of them are indigenous to Europe. Some of them are indigenous to America, and some of them are kind of everywhere. So they can all grow in our channel. There's one that's a bit iffy, but I will talk about that when I get there. It's mostly to do with getting it started, but I will talk about that when we get to that one. Yes, you do enjoy your beer. I'm very pleased. Nice to see you, Dusty. Nice to have you in. Yeah. And again, a lot of these links, thank you for showing them, Jay. I will go back actually because I'm really interested in the subject now. When the links reappear on YouTube, and then I can go through the chat and I can find those links and I can go and have a look at them. So where are we? We've got, now this one, I didn't find much information. Every time I put it in, it gave me more information about, about the Kernza. So it kept giving me, because the perennial wheat hybrid is a cross, it kept picking up the thinopyrum bit of the word, and I got a lot more information about Kernza when I was trying to find out more information about the perennial wheat hybrid. And that's a thinopyrum crossed with a triticum type of wheat, and that has perennialized it. It has the same uses as regular wheat, but I think it's more recent thing, and it seems from all the research that what they've done is try to cross it to try and make it a mainstream thing that more farmers take up, because they really want to encourage farmers to be sustainable, to, I say they, that's a bit vague, people who are interested in the planet. Monsanto obviously don't want people to be not buying new seed every year and not buying as much fertilizer and not locking themselves into, there are certain groups that definitely do want annual crops, but a lot of the universities and the people that are thinking about the environment really want something that farmers will be happy with, because farmers quite often find with perennial stuff, they don't grow it because they don't get a bigger harvest. They don't get, it's harder to harvest, it's harder to thresh, it's doesn't grow as quickly, doesn't respond as well to all the inputs, all the fertilizers they put on. But they're trying to find something that will give them enough of a yield that it makes it worthwhile for them to, it has a smaller yield than regular annual wheat, but not so much so that it makes it impractical on a large scale farm. So it's kind of crossing over into large scale farming, but it can be grown in smaller patches, but it is more similar to regular wheat, but it's perennialized. And it's aimed at big farms, but you can grow it on a small scale. And there isn't much information because it just says all the research I looked at was comparisons in harvest between an annual wheat and this wheat. I think it's more of a commercial. They're trying to get the big farmers to grow it. Now, this is the one I was saying I'll get to. So wild rice, it can grow in the UK. It takes a bit of work to get it established. That was the words on the actual website where I found some seeds. Its benefits are it is a gluten-free carbohydrate. It's got high protein, dietary fiber, amino acids, B vitamins are in there, minerals such as zinc, manganese, phosphorus, and magnesium. So it's got a lot of nutrition. Because you would be processing it whole, and you would be processing it, it's got the hulls on the rice, and there's so much more beneficial nutrition in a wild rice than there is in a regular white rice or even a brown rice. It's really healthy and good for you. It doesn't like starting in the cold. There are instructions on a website, which I'll put the link up to in a minute, where they actually sell the seeds as well. And the instructions are basically to soak it and sow it and grow it indoors and keep it in the pot for a really long time, so it's a really good sturdy plant, and then don't transplant it put it in a pot that's big enough, and treat that pot as you would a water lily, to sink the whole pot and plant the whole pot. And they're saying it's quite tricky to get going, but once it's going, it will come back year after year. It's the starting. Now, the reason I put this up is because every time I put in wild rice, a lot of annual products came up. This one, they don't say it's perennial, but they say once you've got it started, it comes up year after year. So I'm assuming that by that they mean that it is a perennial. So it's a Speedy Seeds, and they sell it. That's a UK one. I don't know about the USA. Does need growing in water, and I think it might be something that would be useful to grow in a pond or a bathtub or a container that's more able to soak water than just boggy land, because it needs between 1 and 3 feet of water, or 30 to 90 centimeters approximately. So it needs quite a deep amount of water to grow in. Just checking in on comments quickly. Okay, I will. Yeah, I'd miss you going. If you're still there, I will see you on Sunday, Rob. Looking forward to it. I got a bake cake. Talking beans, a rough start between the mole, the rabbit hole under the fence, and germination of volunteer beans on top of them. Yeah, so everything wants to eat beans, I've discovered. Being on a farm is much harder than a back garden for getting critters to not eat your seeds. And Rob's going to have a go at getting back in on the chat when he gets back in again. And Dusty found good mother Stollard amongst volunteers. She's not lost. And so for context, Jay said, good mother Stollard, or Stallard, is a popular heirloom pole bean dating back to the 1930s, known for its deep maroon and white marbled appearance, prized for its rich, meaty flavour. I'll be saving some seeds from that. I would definitely be saving. I will have to fill in the beans the rabbit's got with the other variety and get mixed beans. Yeah, I've got some holes. Oh, yes, the other bit of that. So, velvety textures. Bean holds its shape beautifully when cooked, make it a favourite for soups, stews, and chilies. Excellent. There we go. Dusty's saying she did a lot of work yesterday. Really nice weather. Fell asleep listening to a video where the rain was falling on the high tunnel. Nice. I'm looking forward to this weekend working on the farm. Actually, we've had rain and I've been at work, but I have the weekend off, so I am really delighted. What perennial grains? So we might have to go back and start at the beginning. We've been through, there are 5 grains and 1 bonus thing coming up. But that we're looking for perennial grains for the root structure and keeping the soil. Eddie, have a few baits. So Eddie's got a problem. Oh, they've moved on. That's probably a good thing. So Eddie's got bunny rabbits in here. Had bunny rabbits in his garden. Hi, Storms. Nice to see you in. And hi, Foraging Urban Gardener. Nice to see you in too. Good to see you. And I think we're up to there. Right. Where are we? So I think I showed you the link. I will put the link in the description later. That's one thing I didn't because I was scrambling to the last minute to find a place that I could get hold of the perennial. You can get wild rice seeds, annual wild rice seeds in lots of places, but the perennial ones a bit tricky to come across. Now, there was one particular person that watches a live stream that I was thinking of when I found this. Now, I put it in here, and it's not a grain, but it is persistent, and you'll never get rid of it, and that's the sunchoke or the Jerusalem artichoke, or there are lots of names for it, but a sunchoke. And I was unaware, but you can make flour from sunchoke. So you slice the sunchoke with the skin on, and then you can either put it on drying racks, or you can put it in the dehydrator if you want to go a little bit quicker. And then you grind it with the skins. Apparently there's lots of nutrition in the skins, and seeing as we mostly grow organically and don't spray, the skins will be nice and safe, and it makes a very nice flour. It's great because if anybody's ever had sunchokes, they will know they go quite soft and squishy. They don't store very long, but they store much longer if you turn them into flour. They are really high in potassium. Sorry, I've got to, for some reason, there we go. The next thing was on a ticker, which might have been really irritating. So it's high in potassium, which is great if you are potassium deficient. I tend to try and eat a lot of high potassium food. Otherwise, I get cramps in my lower legs. It's really painful. And Dave is always reminding us, Mr. Bowtie, that people with diabetes are really benefit from eating the sunchokes. It affects the blood sugar far less than other forms of carbohydrates. So you don't get the really high spike in the blood sugar level and then the crash down. It's much more plateaued. So it's much safer for diabetics. If you want it to rise, you do need to mix it with another type of flour that rises. But it is an excellent replacement for potato starch because it's a really starchy tuber. And it has a uniquely nutty flavour. Now, question for all of you guys. Would you consider growing any of these to give them a try? And if so, which one do you think you would like to try of all of those? Does ryegrass, the perennial kind, count? Absolutely, yes. Perennial ryegrass is. Did we talk about perennial ryegrass? Let me have a look. Let's have a look what we went through. We went through perennial buckwheat, which is I think I'm gonna have a go because buckwheat, the annual buckwheat, grows really well on my farm. So I'm thinking I might try the annual buckwheat because not only does it make a brilliant flour, but you can make decoctions of the roots, apparently, for treating insects bites, I think, and inflammation is probably what I would most likely use it for. But it also can be used as fodder. So it sounds really versatile. And the leaves, young leaves, are edible in salads. But we also talked about gamma grass. We talked about Kernza, which is Thinopyrium intermedium, perennial wheat hybrid, wild rice. But yes, a perennial ryegrass, I think that would probably count. And that's not one of the top 6 that I looked up. And yeah, that is really weird if they're not coming up. Mine have come up, but they come up spotty. I thought they would come up really thick because I left quite a few tubers in. And they've come up in patches rather than spread across. But I've got a patch that popped up in the middle of my path about 1.5 meters away from where I left the tubers, so I'm not sure. So it's obviously spreading underground. Eddie thinks the super El Nino started already. We've been getting tornadoes and rain keeps missing the area. Half an inch doesn't go far. It doesn't go far. need a good soak. Um, yeah, I know that the Super El Nino affects you guys in the States far more than it affects us, because we're so far, because it's a Pacific Ocean phenomena, and that of course comes across the United States and hits us. We do get affected by it a little bit. We can have more rain or less rain because of it, but the effects we have are super small, and sometimes there can be a super El Nino and it doesn't do anything for our weather. If it does come and change our weather, you never know in which way it's going to change it. Buckwheat is nice for cover crop. Winter wheat is a bit tough to terminate. Oats are okay. Yeah, buckwheat. I use it as a cover crop. I use it as fodder. Winter wheat is a bit tough to terminate. It's yeah. Oats are okay. Yeah. They say the heat doesn't allow all day rains anymore. It's like a hose turned on and quickly off. Okay. Yeah. See, they've spoken about this climate change and the weather with the warming. It's meant to hold more moisture. The atmosphere is supposed to hold more moisture, but I think they changed their minds about what the climate change means. I don't think they really understand fully what the impacts are going to be, because we talked about these like intense downpours and there'll be more flooding, and then they say, well, actually we aren't getting as much rain because of it. I think what it is the weather's so changeable and erratic. Nobody really knows. And I think in a way that's even worse, because if you never know what you're going to get, you never know how to manage it. So if you're going to constantly flood, you can take measures against that. If you know you're going to get droughts, you can take measures against that. But if you don't know which is coming, it's much harder to make adaptations for it. We got the Storms Radio says, I have a grape tomato I've never heard of that is growing well. For a big box store plant, it's called Sugar Rush. Yeah, they're like micro tomatoes, are they? They've become popular. They've become popular where they're like lots of little tiny tomatoes, and they're very prolific. I've never grown them before, but yeah, high sought after, high brick sugar rating. You googled it. Yeah, and I think that's probably why I'm erring on the side of perennials more. With the root structures going so deep, I think for me that leaves them more secure for both adding drainage to the soil so the water can drain away if we get too much wet, but also in drought conditions, they've got a really deep reservoir in which they can go right down into the soil and fetch that water up. And then also, just by bringing that water up themselves and having their roots down that far, that enables other things to access that water, because obviously they're bringing that water up through their root systems, but then they're now the word's gone, respiring water through their leaves constantly. So it's adding moisture and it benefits the other plants around them also. So I'm kind of leaning a lot more towards perennial crops altogether. I obviously still grow annuals, and I'm experimenting this year. So in the we got take that comment down. It's always a bit strange when there's. There we go. Experimenting a little bit with. So I've got my annual garden that I'm growing as I usually do. But within my perennial garden, I'm also planting annuals among that. So I've got some really perennialized things. So things like all my different mints and yarrow and lavender and verbena, my cat mints, obviously my orchard trees. There are hundreds of things in there that are perennial. I put in some things that self-seed, so I've got things like my tree spinach. I've got some of last year's lettuce that is going to seed finally. I thought it would happen much quicker because we had hot and dry for a while, but it's still in the process of flowering and setting seed. I've left some beetroot from last year that are going to seed, so I'm just going to see if they drop anything and anything comes up. All my rhubarb is in there. Tree spinach should set seed itself. I shouldn't have to plant that again. My sorrel is doing really well down there as well, and I've put some sorrel because I knew I could keep an eye on it and raise it better in the annual garden, but I will move that down to the perennial garden because I might change around the design of the annual garden a little bit. I'm not sure yet. So among that, I'm also constantly throwing in annual things to see whether they grow better, just annual things grown together, or whether annual things will grow really well mixed in with the perennials. It's kind of 50-50 at the moment. They grow better once they get started, but the pheasants and the wild animals are more used to there always being food in the perennial garden. So they tend to go in and scratch there more. In the spring, the annual garden's quite bare and there's nothing there, and they kind of don't go there looking for food. And then things germinate more. So I've had to put more seeds into the perennial garden, but once they've started, they seem to have gone better, if that makes sense. Dusty's mentioned, I saw a minute, observation about the weather, which is observed this area, the clouds tend to split and go around. I'm wondering why, if there's like a geographical feature that causes them to do that. Maybe something, I don't know, something odd. It's an odd thing. Or maybe the weather just doesn't want to rain on you, Dusty. It's really frustrating when you really want to. It's really frustrating when you need the rain. What's that? We didn't get the email yesterday, and the sale order of seeds were crammed in the box. The email person doesn't like delivered to the door. Okay. Oh, it's really frustrating once you hit drought, especially so early in the season. Burn ban with hefty fines if you're caught burning anything at your home farm. It rained for 2 days, but I fear it's not enough. No, you need a really good soak. But yeah, it's sensible to stop burning when it's that dry, because it's so easy to just catch. Yeah, I habitually leave a few plants of most crops to go to seed. It makes community gardeners nervous. They are weed seeds. Yeah, so we can water using buckets or watering can, but not the hose. I think they want to make it hard enough that you don't water. And your Dusty's saying, she has river valley and bluffs. I don't know enough about geography to know what features would cause clouds to split and go around, or whether that's a new phenomenon and is really something to do with the climate change. I don't know. Well, anyway, does anybody else have any thoughts about perennial grains? And the other question, not many people, is anybody hard into the preserving yet? Because I did say I would talk about my things I'm preserving as well. I say that because I've actually got to the point this week where I'm like, don't know what, I'm not got the time if I'm at work to harvest everything. The biggest thing is peas, because you have to keep picking them to get more flowers and to keep them going. What have I preserved? So I've dried bunches and bunches of herbs. So I've got big log beams that go across downstairs, and they've all got hooks in, and so I've got tied up bunches of herbs, and I've dried about 20 bunches of herbs so far. I've frozen lots of things. Leeks. I'm going to have to process and freeze a lot of my garlic or dehydrate and powder it, because a lot of the bulbs have split apart. They have not done as well as they should. About half of it isn't going to store well as it is, so I've got to do that. What else have I done? I'm currently dehydrating some rhubarb, and I have videoed a bit of it, and I will show, because I dehydrate it and I blitz into a powder, and I've done 2 kilos of rhubarb, and it will go from like a big bowl that's full to like this much in the bottom of a jar. And it makes this fruit powder that is just like this explosion of flavor. And I don't tend to use it just as rhubarb alone. If I get a jam that I think is a bit flat, because I like to make mixed jams, so I might like make it like an autumn jam that's got like blackberries, autumn raspberries. I throw in elderberries as well. Just anything autumnal, hedgerow type thing. Sometimes though, you've only got one sort of fruit available. Happens quite a lot with things like plums. You get a glut of plums, and then if I think, oh, nice to see you, Dave. Nice to see you. We've been talking about you. I'll explain to you about them. You got something that's quite flat, like a plum jam, and there's nothing to pair with it. And I'm tasting it and thinking, it's okay, but I'll throw a teaspoon of my dried rhubarb powder in. Just gives it this explosion of flavor. It just really gives it some oomph. And again, if I'm making a fruit pie, just a little bit of rhubarb powder in there. Okay, so we were talking about you because we talked about one of your favorite vegetables from the garden. We were talking about sunchokes, and we were saying about how you think sunchokes are amazing because they're so good for people with diabetes. And I've researched, because I was looking into perennial grains. And one of the suggestions that came up in my research is that you can actually make flour from sunchoke, so that you can preserve it and use it for longer in the year, because sunchokes can go a bit squishy. You've had handy guys been in, of hard day work, with a paycheck in hand. So I guess Mrs. Bowtie will be getting her renovation moving. She'll be very happy. So it's nice. So yeah, is anybody else preserving anything? What are you preserving? It's all gone very quiet. Nobody preserving yet. Or no, Dave. The ceilings are done, patched, textured, primed, and painted. Took me a year and a half, and it only took my friend 9 days. It didn't take you a year and a half, Dave, because you were at it for a year and a half and you didn't finish. But wow, brilliant. That is makes a huge difference when the ceilings are done. It just makes the whole room lighter, because with the patches and the bits and pieces, it just feels darker and dull. And once you get that paint on, nice bright color, just makes the room. I always think ceilings and carpets make a huge difference. There we go. Jay's saying, I'm thinking after the bean seeds returned after leaving them in the garden to seed out, I almost have a garden that plants itself. Yep. That's always good. Hiya, Rob. We're just talking about, I've just asked people if they have been preserving anything yet this year. And the other question I was going to ask is, does anybody have any idea? I have got so much chard and I have got so much spinach, other than freezing the spinach, so I might kind of wilt it and freeze it in little blocks, because then I can throw it into soups and blitz it. That'd be good. Whether people have any ideas about those, because I can pick crates every week, crates full of both of those. Bowtie Dave is talking. Oh no, Jay is telling Dave, Bowtie Dave, should monetize the ceiling, charge people to look at it. Dusty is saying froze broccoli, cauliflower, dried oregano, thyme, harvests bok choy, kohlrabi, and radishes. Yeah, we've got loads of radishes. They tend to get eaten quite quickly. None of my Asian vegetables survived. Even the ones under the net, flea beetles got, but the pheasant really seemed to enjoy anything crispy. My cauliflower is not big enough to freeze yet, but I do have a couple. Wow. David, £75 of blueberries and blackberries in the freeze for now. So this is the thing, because I raise my own meat and because it's like a whole animal, it takes up my freezer. I've really got to reserve my freezer space for meat, because I have got 4 lambs and 3 pigs to go in there this autumn. And I'm determined to get Kevin turned into sausages at some point. Peas, the peas are going strong. And that's the thing with peas, once they start, they just don't stop. I'm picking peas every day. And I've actually got to a point where today I was like, I don't really feel like any more peas. Like usually every time I walk past, I pick a handful of peas, munch a handful of peas. I've eaten so many handfuls of peas this week that I feel like I was like, no, I don't fancy any more. But I've grown sugar snap peas, so I can't freeze those. They go all bendy and floppy. So we're plowing through eating all of those. Give peas a chance. Thanks, Jay. What is that? We've so far harvested over 12 pounds of tomatoes and various ILK, going to numerous recipes. Also several pounds of peas are frozen for the year. I know, I saw that on your video saying Mrs. Bowtie said enough peas, rip them up and you put the beans in instead. Yeah, have enough tomatoes till next year. We eat so many frozen peas, like pod peas. So I should have a go at growing them next year. Dusty Fat saying, not a big rhubarb fan. I should make jam with frozen berries as blossoms on April bloomers. Frozen. We were frozen, may have lost a couple of grapes. Oh no, it's annoying when you lose grapevines. I lost one just before we moved, and it's just like, oh well, that's fine. I got it to a point where it was able to grow right over the head of veranda, and it grew under the veranda. And it used to just, you'd step out the back door and a bunch of grapes would hang down, and it was lovely. And then for some reason, it just decided it had enough. So, but we moved anyway. So, oh, you put loofah in as well as the beans where the peas were, Dave. That's a good idea. Yeah, yeah. You never grow peas and never get home. Yeah, yeah. Peas, they, especially if you have children. I know you don't anymore, Rob, but you must have back in the past. I don't know actually. Kids would just, they go mad for peas. Oh, my pomegranate plant is actually starting to grow. So I put a pomegranate in, and I have no idea. Well, I do have an idea. Pheasants are just a pain in the backside. They seem to eat everything. But they really, really seem to like my photinia, my eucalyptus, and the pomegranate, and they would eat it absolutely horrendously. I've had to put something around this pomegranate to stop them eating it. And I really thought when I put the dahlia out that I was going to have to protect them, but they haven't gone anywhere near the dahlia. So, yeah. Now, our dogs have peas as part of their diet. The vet said, give them some peas every day. And so they have peas twice a day. I buy 8 kilograms of peas every month for the dogs. It's a lot. I have got 5 dogs. Yeah. What's this? True fact. Picking peas with cash to young teams. How I started in gardening for money. Excellent. Wow. Where we were, it was potato sorting, cutting the big broccoli heads, the calibre cutting, and daffodil picking. Those were the big farm things. Saying hi to each other. Those were the really big things that would go on. Agriculturally in this area, other than animals, there's a lot of dairy farms in this area, but the farmers would tend to run that themselves. Sometimes you'd have a job as a milk parlour person, but mostly it was just those few jobs. And the daffodil picking was horrible because daffodil picking season always starts in January here in Cornwall, to get the daffodils out early before the rest of the country, because we're warmer than everywhere else. So January is when it starts. It can be really cold and frosty in the mornings. Daffodils don't seem to mind that as long as it warms up during the day. And I'm really allergic to daffodils, and so I have to wear rubber gloves to pick them. Otherwise, my hands swell up really fat and my fingers really hurt. It feels like if you've ever had an infection under your nail, it feels like that, but all of your fingers. And just touching things really hurts. It's not very pleasant. So I did not enjoy daffodil picking. I much preferred working on the potato farm. All right. So just a reminder to anybody, this is my email. If you have any comments or suggestions or anything that you want to email me about, rather than put in the comments, feel free to email me. That's how you can get hold of me. You can also find that on the channel homepage. If you do the blurb, the reading about me, my email is in there. I am going to wrap it up in a little minute. So thank you all for keeping me company. I'll see you next time. But the next live stream is next week. So we are having Jamie and Tonya back again from Ride's House Farm, and their channel is the Smallholding Adventure. And we will be talking again on the topic of food ethics, because there was so much we didn't get to. And then after the show, Jamie and I had a chat with Jay, and there are even more things that he's like, oh, I wish I talked about this, or I wish I talked about that, or I didn't mention to you earlier. So we're going to have a part 2 of that. So that will be coming up. So thank you all for spending your time with me. I think everybody's links have been put in the chat. What have we got there? No. Oh, there we go. That's I'll get onto that. My imagination is going wild about milk parlour and how the furniture would be formed. It's mostly just a big concrete box where everything that falls on the floor runs down the drain. It's called a milk parlour. I don't know why. It's not very parloury. You're ready to harvest hot chilies this year. My next huge batch of hot sauce. Last batch lasted 3 years. Did not plant Dorset Naga, but discovered volunteer under the blackberries this year. I think you mentioned that in one of your garden tours as well. Time to throw some more seed before the rain and haul chips. Good idea, Dusty. I'm glad you're going to look more into the perennial wheat, Kirsty. I'm waiting to see how your wheat experiment turned out. Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. And the grains. Nice chat. Surprise I caught you. It was lovely that I did see you. So thank you everybody for this evening. Take care, and I will see you hopefully next week So, but I'll be eating dragon's breath and MA warthog with Jason this year, September. Okay, goodbye, everybody. Take care till next time.